Here we go again. Just tried to record this episode and the audio messed up, so... that was a good one. It was a really good one. I mean, it was kind of long in the tooth, about 50 minutes, but I really liked it. But so let's just hop right back into it. I'm going to have to go through and re-record everything, but I'm really proud of this mock draft, and I'm really proud of both rounds, and I want to get this out there, and I'm very happy with this. So let's go right away. Recapping the first round real quick. At number 1, Detroit, Malik Willis, quarterback, Liberty. Number 2, Houston, Kayvon Thibodeau, edge, Oregon. Number 3, New York Jets, Evan Neal, offensive tackle, Alabama. Number 4, Jacksonville, Kyle Hamilton, safety, Notre Dame. Number 5, Philadelphia, Derek Stingley, cornerback, LSU. Number 6, the Giants, DeMarvin Leal, D-tackle, Texas A&M. Number 7, the Jets, Trent McDuffie, cornerback out of Washington. Number 8, the Giants, Tyler Linderbaum, center out of Iowa. Number 9, Washington, Kenyon Green, guard out of Texas A&M. Number 10, Philadelphia, Aiden Hutchinson, edge out of Michigan. Number 11, Atlanta, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Number 12, Miami, Ahmad Gardner, cornerback out of Cincinnati. Number 13, Minnesota, Andrew Booth, cornerback out of Clemson. Number 14, Denver, Drake Jackson, edge out of USC. Number 15, Philadelphia, Jackson Kirkland, offensive tackle, Washington. Number 16, Cleveland, Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State. Number 17, Cincinnati, Charles Cross, offensive tackle, Mississippi State. Number 18, Las Vegas, Treylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. 19, Carolina, Matt Corral, quarterback out of Ole Miss. 20, Los Angeles Chargers, Jordan Davis, D-tackle out of Georgia. Number 21, New Orleans, Kenny Pickett, quarterback, Pitt. Number 22, New England, George Karlaftis, edge, Purdue. Number 23, Kansas City, Brandon Joseph, safety, Northwestern. Number 24, Tampa Bay, Devin Lloyd, linebacker, Utah. Number 25, Pittsburgh, Sam Howell, quarterback, North Carolina. Number 26, Baltimore, Daxton Hill, safety, Michigan. Number 27, Detroit, Kyer Elam, cornerback, Florida. Number 28, Dallas, Myjai Sanders, edge, Cincinnati. Number 29, Buffalo, Ed Ingram, guard, LSU. Number 30, Arizona, Jaleel Billingsley, tight end, Alabama. Number 31, Tennessee, Darian Kennard, guard/tackle out of Kentucky. Number 32, Green Bay Packers, Bernhard Ryman, offensive tackle out of Central Michigan. Very happy with how that first round turned out. I know there's going to be some objections, and I can't wait to read everyone's comments about it. But now we're going to go right into round 2. And here we go. 33rd overall, Detroit Lions select Drake London, wide receiver, USC. Detroit just needs a playmaker out there. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown and really nothing else. I think not Quez Watkins because he's on the Eagles, but that other guy, I can't remember his name right now, that has been making plays for them, kind of, sort of. So, I mean, it's just a matter of getting more weapons out there, especially if you have Malik Willis, who has the accuracy issues. Drake London has made a name of, really kicking ass in those jump ball, 50-50 ball kind of things, and has some great rack ability despite his lack of physical gifts, athletically wise. Has improved his route running, has increased, is, done better with his releases, and is your typical X receiver that they're really lacking in Detroit. Just get some more fun talent on that offense. Make people want to watch the Detroit Lions next year. Number 34, Houston Texans take Christian Harris, linebacker, Alabama, to pair up with Kayvon Thibodeau. Imagine that 1-2 punch on defense if they drafted these guys back-to-back. Thibodeau, Harris, they have Justin Reed at safety. They have a superstar at each level of that defense. Maybe not Justin Reed isn't a superstar. Christian Harris has the ceiling of superstar. Kayvon Thibodeau, immediate superstar. Just so how freakish he is. So I think just that defense would be the way to win games next year, because that offense, no matter how much you add to it, I think they're still going to have to rely on Davis Mills or Tyrod Taylor or some other quarterback they're going to bring in, some journeyman, to try to win them games, because this quarterback class isn't that great. And I think they'd rather stick with what they have than try to swing on one in this draft class. So they're going to have to try to improve that defense enough to win games with that defense and whoever they're pulling in for quarterback, which is probably Davis Mills again. 35, Jacksonville takes Nicholas Petit-Frere, offensive tackle, Ohio State. Both their offensive tackles right now are on one-year deals or, franchise tags and stuff like that. Cam Robinson and Juwan Taylor? Something like that. Juwan James. Juwan James is the guy from Denver. I went to Baltimore. Juwan Taylor. So they need a guy to come in and be that long-term answer, to be blocking for Trevor Lawrence and give him a clean pocket to work with, so he isn't panicking or making really bad mistakes. So if you're we've already improved the defense with Kyle Hamilton, you gotta come in now, help Trevor Lawrence get more comfortable and try to win games that way. You can win games with defense and win games with offense if you can protect Trevor Lawrence, because he's just that good, especially with all the weapons he has. Number 36, the New York Jets select Brandon Smith, linebacker out of Penn State. I really wanted to grab them an edge rusher here, but all like the second round guys were grabbed at the end of the first round in the first for the last episode. So I just grabbed somebody who is this physical freak, who if you put him at the linebacker position with C.J. Mosley and have guys like, who did I draft for them earlier? Trent McDuffie behind him, and you have your defensive line that's like, it's not great. Like I said, I would have looked for an edge rusher, but Brandon Smith is a good blitzer. He's kind of a weak side linebacker kind of guy, so Mosley's your typical middle linebacker. Run those two guys as your linebackers, and I think you'll be okay. Brandon Smith, physical freak, 4.3 speed at 240. I want this to be remembered, and I want people to understand that why I made that pick. Number 37, Miami, Isaiah Spiller, running back, Texas A&M. It baffles me why Miami has not targeted talented running backs to pair with Tua or Jacoby Brissett, whoever the hell is going to be playing quarterback for them next year, because they've been targeting a bunch of outside weapons because they're like, oh, we're going to rely on these quarterbacks to win, but these quarterbacks are mediocre to average at best. And so teams are like, oh, well, they have these great weapons and this average quarterback, so which means they're going to want to try to throw it in the game. And so they're just playing back pass coverage-wise, and they're making the quarterbacks make mistakes. Because the running backs, even though I know I like my Washington boys and Salvin Ahmad and Myles Gaskin, they're more pass-catching backs. They're not really those every down back like CJ or Isaiah Spiller is. Power, breakaway speed, shiftiness. He could do it all except for catching the ball, which he's been good proving at. But you have guys with Salvin Ahmed and Myles Gaskin who can already do that on the roster. And a quarterback's best friend is a good running game. And the Dolphins had a really good defense last year, are kind of turning that defense around this year. A good running game, strong defense will really help out whoever's playing quarterback for them next year, especially with all those weapons they have. And, they got to fix the offensive line, but they can work on that in free agency. Number 38, Seattle takes Nakobe Dean, linebacker out of Georgia. Seattle needs to grow an identity that's not Russell Wilson, especially if Russell Wilson isn't there anymore. When they lose Russell Wilson, they lose anything that really remotely identifies them as like, this is what this team does well. Adding Nakobe Dean to like a weak side linebacker who is really good in coverage and is really athletic and can hawk plays down from the behind, with a really good but aging Mike linebacker and Bobby Wagner, and a good strong side run stopping linebacker in Jordan Brooks who complements him well, kind of like how Channing Tindall does currently at Georgia. I think that would be good, and it would help to bring this defense into the forefront and really hang their hat on this defense, as opposed to being Russ in this passing attack, and that's all this team has. So yeah, just giving the Seattle Seahawks an identity with one of the best linebacker groups in the class, except for Tampa Bay, who in this reality has both Devin White and Devin Lloyd. I'm not getting over that. And technically, at this point, they would have those two and wow, who's the other linebacker? I'm forgetting. I literally talked about it in the last episode about being replaced by Devin Lloyd. It's not Tampa Bay's pick right now. Anyway, so it doesn't matter. Moving on to the Chicago Bears taking first off, apologies to Eagles fans. Last episode, first off, I kept saying Trent McDuffie was the quarterback they took when it really was when I was talking about the picks later on with Aiden Hutchinson, when it really was Derek Stingley, quarterback at LSU. And I brought up Tavon Jenkins because I'm pretty sure because Philly was around the Giants who were using the Chicago. Some wires got crossed. But the Bears need an offensive tackle outside of Tevin Jenkins, and Trevor Penning, offensive tackle out of Northern Iowa. He's a very good mover. He's a very good pass blocker. He's got some decent technique. He just doesn't have the power to really bring to the running game for them. And, you got guys like Jenkins who can bring that power and compensate for that and Penning is only like 305 or 310, so he has room to add weight on and become a better run blocker power-wise if you want to establish the run with David Montgomery more, or if you want to stick with the pass with Justin Fields. He's immediately a complement to that. And so you don't have to rely on, old ass Jason Peters anymore and stuff like that to go out there. And maybe even move Jenkins to guard and bring in like a Morgan Moses or something. You have flexibility if you get Penning, is what I'm saying. But he can be your left tackle of the future, especially in a pass blocking offense. Number 40, Washington takes still 19-year-old, won't be 20 until October 26th of 2022, quarterback Jake Haener out of Fresno State. He took Oregon to the limit at 18. He took a giant shot and came back to the game. They didn't even miss a play. He was in pain, clearly and obviously, throwing the ball, and beat UCLA at 18. 18. You put him in with Washington, who has weapons, with McLaurin, with Antonio Gibson, Logan Thomas, Diami Brown. The offensive line could use some help. We already added Kenyon Green for him. Their defense is so talented, there's no way they don't bounce back, if not this year, next year. You add him into that. Maybe he doesn't have to start right away because you have Heineke. But then you turn the reins over to this dude who can be playing for like 3 or 4 NFL games at 19. I can't express that enough. He's done so much and has played so well and brought a team like Fresno State into the rankings at 19, 18 and 19 this season. 18 and 19. This man is a year younger than me. He's literally, we're born in the same month, 20 days apart, but he's a year younger, and he's a redshirt senior going into the NFL. It's insane how much he's done at such a young age. His ceiling is crazy just because of that fact alone. He's like the Tremaine Edmonds of quarterbacks, except maybe not as physically talented. He is a gunslinger. He can go out there and make big plays for you and, get the ball to your playmakers, be a leader at such a young age. I can't talk this kid up enough. And I can call him kid because I'm older than him. Alright, the Giants take Micah McFadden, linebacker out of Indiana. Typical Mike kind of guy, the kind of thing they're really missing on that defense. And if he plays behind DeMarvin Leal and Williams, forgetting his first name, Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence, he's a very good blitzer, good identifier of the run game. He isn't the best at pass coverage, but like I said, he brings blitzing on a third down kind of basis. And he can be like your hook curl kind of guy, and he's a great leader. Indiana defense can't shut up about how good of a leader he is. You need to win, as we established in the last episode when we took Leal and we took Tyler Linderbaum. If I'm the Giants GM, we are winning with strong defense and a strong run game because we have Saquon, we have Linderbaum, who can move and breach block anybody in this league, no matter who they are. I dare say he could even take on Aaron Donald's quickness. And this just goes on to add to that strong defense we're building because we have some corners, we have a decent safety or two, and we have a great front three. We have some good outside pass rushing linebackers with O'Shane Zimenez and Azeez Ojulari and Lorenzo Carter. So we just need that Mike linebacker who can be our leader, and that is Micah McFadden. Number 42, Philadelphia takes Zion Johnson. We're adding Jackson Kirkland and Zion Johnson, who was a good guard, decent tackle at Boston College, but a really good guard at Boston College, to this offensive line of Philadelphia, who has already added Aiden Hutchinson and Derek Stingley on the defensive side of the ball. So they're going to be able to take the ball away and get sacks and get the offense back on the field. And now we're improving the offensive line, not to rely on old-ass Brandon Brooks or anyone like that. And you can just isolate the variable of Jalen Hurts. You get it. He's proven. He's gotten himself one more season of starts to really see if he's the guy. And blocking is going to be a paramount for him to succeed. So isolate the variable, improve this offensive line. He already has weapons, wide receiver wise, tight end wise, running back wise, and we got him splash playmakers in defense. Get Jalen Hurts the protection and see what he can do. Number 43, we got San Francisco 49ers taking George Pickens, wide receiver out of Georgia. I know that Debo and Brandon Ayuk, especially Debo, and then they have George Kittle, they have weapons in the passing game, and they like to run the ball a lot. But George Pickens is that X kind of receiver that they don't have. Like, Ayuk isn't it. Like, he's maybe like a Z or a Y, I guess. But then you got like a slot kind of receiver, gadget guy, and Debo takes handoffs and works out of the slot mostly, and then Kittle's a tight end. You don't got the guy who can line up out wide, who's 6'4", who can demand attention, who can win those 50-50 balls. He just adds a different dimension to this offense. And you already have those guys, and maybe he makes Brandon Ayuk expendable because he hasn't really lived up to his first round billing in a couple year or two. But like, you got Pickens out there who he's come back from torn ACL, which is why he's falling so far. He'd probably be in the first round if that didn't happen. And he's got to work his way back to it. So you already have these wide receivers out there. You don't really got to rush him to it, but he can be that long-term replacement for Ayuk, or just add a different level. Imagine like an 11 personnel with Ayuk, Pickens, Kittle, and Samuel with whatever. Pick a running back on that team. I'm more inclined to go Trey Sermon and just Trey Lance. That is insane. So I think that's a good long-term gamble for the 49ers. Sticking with wide receivers, 44, we have Minnesota taking Jahan Dotson. Kind of the same reasoning. They have two really good receivers, one in the slot with Adam Thielen and one on the outside with Justin Jefferson. But adding a guy like Jahan Dotson who can play on the outside despite being only 5'10", because he has that aggressive mentality and he's going to kill it at the combine with the vertical jump, I think that you can lighten the box up for Dalvin Cook. That way you get him going more and improving the run game for whatever quarterback starting, whether it's Mond or Cousins again, and you're just adding more weapons to the offense, which we've already improved the defense with Andrew Booth last round, and just adding more weapons will help free up those other guys you already have. So either Jahan Dotson's going to go off, or when he starts going off, and they start focusing him more, that lets up the other two guys, or Dalvin Cook, or somebody. You're gonna just adding more weapons. The more weapons, the better. And if they're not selfish and they don't need to be fed, like I know Thielen's probably not selfish. Cook is probably happy he doesn't have to get as many touches because of his knees and everything. You have more weapons. The more explosive, the more well balanced your offense can be. Again, and it'll be beneficial to whatever quarterback you decide is going to be playing for you that season. All right, number 45, Atlanta takes Desmond Ridder, quarterback Cincinnati. If I'm Atlanta, I'm grabbing Desmond Ridder. I'm running this to the podium, benching him as a third-string quarterback behind Rosen and Ryan for the entirety of the 2022 season. And then as soon when Ryan's contract is up after 2022, and Rosen can be your backup still if you want, you roll Ridder out, kind of like what they did with Patrick Mahomes. And now you have this Josh Allen-esque quarterback who adds so much as a runner as a quarterback, as well as a very strong arm to stretch the field with now your new wide receiver Garrett Wilson, as well as Kyle Pitts and hopefully Calvin Ridley. And you have your Arthur Smith running game you're already establishing. And your offensive line is a little weak, but he's so mobile, he can counteract that. So I'm kind of inclined to think this is a really good pick for them. And if I'm Atlanta, I think I'd rather put my eggs in the Desmond Ridder future basket than Josh Rosen. And again, he adds a lot to that run game, which is what Arthur Smith likes to go after. And with a strong arm and that play-action pass game, he can really stretch the field. Number 46, this is a sleeper pick for my favorite pick in this entire second round. Indianapolis takes Terrell Bynum, wide receiver out of Washington. They are losing T.Y. Hilton this offseason. They barely brought him back, and he's been hurt. I know, because I got it auto-drafted him in fantasy. Thanks, ESPN. But you're losing T.Y. Hilton, and you need another wide receiver opposite of Michael Pittman for whoever going to play quarterback for you, whether it's Wentz or whoever. And a guy who can come in like Bynum, who is this crisp route runner, this great option out of the slot, who can run those option routes and has some juice when you get the ball in his hands, who's been the number one receiver for the Huskies all season, despite being a slot-specific guy. He plays outside there, too. He's going to take pressure off of Pittman, or Pittman's going to have the same pressure and just leave Bynum open over the middle of the field. So you're going to have this great offensive line with a good running game, a good slot receiver, and a good X receiver. I think it's a perfect fit for them. It's a perfect replacement for T.Y. Hilton, and it's one of my favorite picks in the entire draft. Now, this is the pick that I'm going to talk about the most, because this is the pick that made me want to do a two-rounder, because I couldn't give them this guy or this position in the first round, but in the second round, I will make my argument, I will state my case, and make sure it's still recording, because I went through this whole rant for like 6 or 7 minutes in the last episode. This is going to be the longest section of the episode for the longest pick, so here we go, geared up. 47, Cleveland Browns select Spencer Rattler, quarterback out of Oklahoma. Pause for reactions. Okay. Here's my thought process. Cleveland, Baker isn't going to be the reason you win games. He keeps you in games. Your running game is what wins you games. Your offensive line is what wins you games. Baker isn't going to take over a game and go crazy and go off because that's just not the guy he is. He's a great leader. He's not this insane arm talent. He's not this insane athletic talent. He's got to be one or the other. And I think that if your quarterback isn't that, he's replaceable. If he's not going to be a guy who can go out there and be a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, who can go out there and just win you games by himself despite anything else that happens, I think that you need to maybe look to move on to him. And they haven't paid him yet. And what I would do is I would franchise tag Baker, draft Rattler, who is another fiery dude from Oklahoma who might be a better leader. Now, if I'm Rattler, I'm not coming out in this draft. But Rattler is a very prideful dude who thinks he's still the best quarterback in this draft class. And he probably has the best arm talent in this draft class still. Like, talent-wise. I mean, his pocket presence isn't great, but guess what? You have the best offensive line in football in Cleveland. So you have a great running game, great weapons. Now you have Chris Olave, and you have Jarvis Landry. You have really good running backs, and that should help balance out his bad, pocket presence, Rattler, that is. So you can it'll either light a fire under Baker's ass, and then you pay him after that season if he plays good. He plays poorly, you substitute Rattler in, and he does good, because I think he'd do good with this supporting cast. Or Baker does great, you blow out some players, let Rattler go out there, show what he can do, and then he does good, and then you flip him for like a first-round pick. Because if you can convince teams that he's no longer a character issue, teams will give up first-round picks for him. Because he was viewed as like a potential number one overall pick. And if you can give up like a late teens, early 20s pick to get Spencer Rattler, you would do it in a heartbeat, especially if you have this confirmation now that he's in the NFL, he can succeed in the NFL, and he doesn't have a problem being a backup for a guy. So I think it's just a win-win-win-win-win for Cleveland. You either get the Baker Mayfield you want, that will be worth paying him $40 million. You get a younger, cheaper quarterback who has better arm talent than Baker without losing much of that fire or that charisma. Or, you can and then if the Baker one, works out, you can then trade Rattler and get a first round pick back. It's like, I don't know what the point of not making this move would be. I'm not the biggest Rattler fan, but his talent is so polar opposite of what Baker's is. Baker is Sam Howell, and that's why Sam Howell goes higher, because he's got character. If Spencer Rattler had good character and didn't get benched this season for Caleb Williams, which, just because Caleb Williams is really good, I think that Rattler could still be a first-round pick and go higher than Sam Howell. But the difference between, they're polar opposites talent-wise, and Rattler, with where they're talented anyway, or how they play quarterback, and Rattler can come in and be that different kind of vision you're looking for at quarterback for Cleveland. That's my pitch. That's my argument. Cleveland fans can shred me in the comments all they want. That's what I think they should do in the second round, and this is why I wanted to make a 2-round mock draft, and I thought it just worked out best because I had in the posting well. So, boom, there you go. It wasn't even Spencer Rattler. It was just any quarterback. Desmond Ridder would have fit there too. In the first round, maybe even Matt Corral would have fit there, but I thought first round was a little bit of a reach for that. So, there we go. That's it. That's my Cleveland pitch. And that's the one I'm worried about, all the backlash for. But hey, bring it on. 48, Denver, Ikem Ekwonu. Oh my God, I said it right before. 48, Denver, Ikem Ekwonu, offensive tackle, NC State. Get him some good coaching so he isn't leaning all the time and missing his punches and is off balance, and he can be a solid right tackle, maybe even a Pro Bowl level tackle. And I'm pretty sure Denver has Mike Munchaks as their offensive line coach. I may be wrong. He might have been retired. I have no idea. But get him some good NFL coaching. Make sure tweak that a little bit and fix him. They fixed Garrett Bowles, so see if they can fix him. And then you have a guy who can be your right tackle of the future, and pair him up with Quinn Miners, Garrett Bowles, and Dalton Reisner. And there you go. And Lloyd Cushenberry at center. Look at that offensive line. That's probably the best offensive line in the division. Even better than the Kansas City's. And Kansas City's is pretty good. Las Vegas, 49, takes Cam Jones, linebacker in India. My guy, Cam Jones. Mr. Nobody talks about Cam Jones. Small, athletic, can cover guys, great blitzer. Isn't the best in the run defending area just because he's smaller and doesn't can't really disengage. But if he's allowed to scrape from behind and get a clear shot to take down the running back from his weak side linebacker position, he can lay the wood. He makes good splash plays against the run, and he's a great pass defender as a linebacker. So just if you can keep him clean, that's all you got to do. And I think that the Raiders have some talent up there with run-stopping linebackers and some decent D linemen that they can keep him consistently clean. Cincinnati takes Cade Otton, tight end out of Washington. Solid blocker. Actually, great blocker as a tight end for Joe Mixon. And even if you want to keep him back there for pass coverage for Joe Burrow, keep him comfortable. Very solid security blanket, sure-handed, has really good route running, very intelligent with when to sit in on zones and things like that. So he'll be a great asset for the pass game. He's not this super uber athletic tight end who's going to break a tight end a pass, a short pass long for 60 yards or go deep vertically. And they have C.J. Uzomah to do that. They have C.J. Uzomah, but this guy is so sure-handed and so just like the typical 3-down blocking tight end who can also leak out in the flat and get you some 5 to 6 yards of pop just by catching the ball and taking a hit, maybe breaking a tackle. And C.J. Uzomah's been injury prone in the past, so I think this is a kind of a win-win for the entire team. It helps Joe Mixon, helps Joe Burrow, takes pressure off of C.J. Uzomah, can run some 2 tight end sets. I think it'll be good for them. 51, New York Jets, courtesy of Carolina in the Sam Darnold trade, take Jordan Battle, safety out of Alabama, pair him up, because Marcus May's leaving. You got Trent McDuffie in the first round, and you pair him up with, and you got Brandon Smith earlier in the second round. Pair him up with Ashton Davis, who you can hopefully switch to your free safety role permanently, and you got a good box safety, a good athletic linebacker, and a good corner. You're building this defense up for Robert Saleh, who is known for his defensive stuff, his defensive specialty. He's like a defensive coach. He's kind of like those like Sean McDermott, Bill Belichick, these other AFC East coaches, and Brian Flores are all defensive-minded coaches, and their defense has been awful this year. So you just need to add talent on the defense. Let Saleh show why he was hired as a defensive-minded coach. And if he can't make it work with these guys on his defense, even though I'm not the biggest Jordan Battle fan, he is a good box safety. Come down, he can be a blitzer, he can stop the run, and he can play that robber or that hook zone kind of thing pretty well. Man up against tight ends, he's got the size, he's got the speed. He just needs to work better in coverage. So if you got all this talent in the first 2 rounds and you put him on Saleh's defense and the defense doesn't take a step, then you can evaluate Saleh from there on. Getting a good defense is is very, very valuable for Zach Wilson's development, so that he doesn't have to feel like he needs to score on every drive or every play. He can take it slow, he can slow it down, be a little safer with the ball kind of thing. So I think building a good defense, especially with Robert Saleh, and trying to evaluate him is the move here. New Orleans, all right, we got to run on playmakers now. New Orleans, David Bell, wide receiver, Purdue. Big body dude who hangs his hat on being a guy who doesn't get much separation, but makes big plays and can moss people. Now you got Kenny Pickett as your quarterback. Kenny Pickett's going to make really good ball placement on those deep balls where David Bell can embarrass some DBs, and David Bell can draw a lot of attention because he can do that and work downfield. And you got Marcus Callaway in the slot, and then Michael Thomas working those mid routes, his patented slants. Same thing with how we talked about Minnesota earlier, letting up the box for Alvin Kamara, who also helps out in the pass game. So you got Kenny Pickett, who has weapons, Michael Thomas, Kamara, now David Bell, and Callaway, and he can just pepper it around. And Thomas is going to be his favorite target, but Bell is going to be that guy who's going to give you 1 to 2 big plays a game, while also being that physical presence on the outside. 53, the Chargers take Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver, Kentucky. KJ Hill hasn't really been cutting it as their slot receiver. Mike Williams is that bigger body dude who has a great chemistry with Justin Herbert. They're going to pay him. We've already fixed the biggest issue on the roster, which is interior defensive tackle or interior defensive line. So we just need to add another guy to complement the route runner and Keenan Allen, who's one of the best route runners in the game. A big physical X receiver like Mike Williams. A good running game with Justin Jackson, Austin Eckler back there. Back there. Now you got a gimmick slot kind of gadget player who you can just getting him on some bubble screens, some quick slants, getting him the ball on some handoffs, stuff like that. Really stress the defense out with where he is on the field, what he can do, so they have to focus on him as opposed to all those other great weapons I just rattled off. Number 54, Kansas City takes John Mechie III, wide receiver out of Alabama. So we go with 3 receivers in a row. John Mechie was viewed as maybe a potential number 1 receiver in this upcoming draft class. Fell off because of a guy we'll be talking about shortly. Really emerging, but Mechie can be that guy. He's got some decent route running. He's a very aggressive, he's got a lot of fight in him, even though he's smaller. He's a great blocker, can come over and maybe him and Kelsey can, balance each other out. He's a really good blocker for wide receiver. He's a not really good blocker for a tight end. Maybe that can balance out. Tyreek Hill. The basic teams this year against the Chiefs were like, we're going to take away Hill, we're going to take away Kelsey, beat us, but we'll let you beat us with your other weapons. Pass those weapons. And they tried it with Josh Gordon. They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Damian Williams and stuff like that, and they work in some situations, but like adding someone like Mechie who has that pedigree, who was supposed to be a first-round pick, stuff like that, and can work the middle of the field with his route running, and could be the guy who like goes out and blocks for Hill on those screens and things like that, I think can really benefit this team offensively anyway. 55, New England. Okay, this is a great pick, and I will hear nothing about it. Aeneas Smith, running back / wide receiver out of Texas A&M. The Patriots have Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Williams, and they just signed Kendrick Bourne, and they have Nelson Aguilar, and all these tight ends. Why do they need to draft a running back or a wide receiver? Well, if you're going to try to say that Mac Jones is running the Tom Brady offense, Tom Brady had James White and Lewis. I don't remember what his first name was, but James White and then Lewis. Damian Lewis? No, I don't remember what his name was. But you know what I'm talking about. These small pass-catching running backs who basically are another wide receiver on the field. And Aeneas Smith is even like, he's kind of like that Julian Edelman type, where he can go out and play in the slot. He is so good. He's so explosive. He's not going to be able to run in between the tackles, but that's why you got Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Williams, or Damian Harris. So you get this guy on some like outside handoffs and then get him incorporated in the passing game. Literally plug him into the James White role for this offense that you're trying to build around Mac Jones, who is a very similar player to Tom Brady, talent wise or skill set wise. And boom, it's like you've barely even changed anything. So I really like that pick. To finally end the run on wide receivers / skill players, 56 Tampa Bay takes Jameson Williams, wide receiver Alabama. He's a guy who transferred over to Alabama and has really exploded this season. He was originally supposed to be just like the deep threat guy, but he's shown some toughness, some ability to go up and get the ball. He's a little. His catch radius and catching through contact isn't really a strong suit, but the Bucks have Mike Evans, and they have Antonio Brown to be that like route running speedy guy. They got Scotty Miller to be a speedster out of the slot. What they're going to need is, and I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering this correctly, Chris Godwin's contract is going to be up. So I think that he's going to leave, and you need to reload that position. So I think Jameson Williams will be the perfect player to come in. Similar kind of body type, and he's maybe a little shorter than Godwin, but he can be that guy who plays the middle of the field and maybe can stretch the field a little bit, complement everybody else, and really take over that Chris Godwin role for the team. Pittsburgh at number 57, Zion Nelson, offensive tackle, Miami. I'm not the biggest fan of Pittsburgh's current offensive line situation, but they've made it work. I mean, Ben gets the ball to his hands so quickly, they really have to block at all. But just getting more offensive linemen in there to compete, especially young guys like Zion Nelson, who comes from a good university, who with a little bit of tweaking, and the Steelers have a good track record of taking guys and improving them out of college. He needs a little bit of work. Footwork wise and athletic, he's not the greatest athlete, but he was a good starter at Miami. He added a lot of weight at Miami, so maybe he can lose a little bit or anything like that. You can work with him. You can work with him, and then even then, if he doesn't start for you year one, there's no problem with having a lot of good offensive linemen to play for you. And keeping that mentality in mind, we have number 58, the Baltimore Ravens, with Sean Ryan, tackle, which I really like him as a guard at UCLA, but you could play him at guard and groom him to be the replacement for Villanueva at right tackle. And especially with Staley's recent injury history, you start Ryan at guard. He's a really good power blocker for that offense for the Ravens. That's what they like to do, just, smash them out you with the run game. And if Staley goes down again, switch him to left tackle, which is where he plays for UCLA. Grumman would be the right tackle if Staley stays healthy. And you can put Ben Cleveland or whoever else you have at guard there in place of him and put him over at right tackle. He plays a lot of swing tackle. Like, they'll do an unbalanced formation and take him from his left tackle spot, put a tight end there, and then put him at right tackle, so they are unbalanced. So he plays on the right side a lot. So he already has that situational understanding of playing on that side of the offensive line. So it might not be that big of an issue. I just think his feet's a little slow, and he needs some cleaning up with his foot technique to play a tackle. So I have to start him out at guard and then groom him to be that right tackle for Villanueva. Number 59, I have Denver, courtesy of the Rams in the Von Miller trade, taking Michael Wright, cornerback out of Oregon. A little bit of a reach here, but there's no real position I like for them taking here, and I think that with Kyle Fuller on a one-year deal and Ronald Darby being there, he's inconsistent at best. Take it from a Bills fan who's also followed him his entire career, just because I really liked him when we drafted him. I have a very special place in my heart for him. I'll talk about it more when I get into my draft stuff, but like how I got into the draft. But Kyle Fuller on one-year contract, and you have all these great wide receivers that, especially ones we just drafted to the Raiders and Treylon Burks. Chargers got Wan'Dale Robinson. The Chiefs just drafted John Mechie. You got all these receivers coming in the division. You need, even if you bring Kyle Fuller back, you need more DBs. You got your Von Miller replacement already in the first round. Get more DBs in there. There's no quarterback really here. You got to take a swing at somebody else. And just get more playmakers in that back end to go with Justin Simmons and all those other guys you got there. So yeah, that's my justification for reaching a little bit on Michael Wright, who's more of a third-round player for me. Here's another really good one that not a lot of people are going to mock. Number 60, Dallas takes Alec Pierce, wide receiver, Cincinnati. Michael Gallup is gone after this year. They were successful even when he was hurt this season, and his contract's up, and they can't pay everybody. They're paying Cooper $100 million, $20 million a year, something like that, some crazy. And they got CeeDee Lamb now. Cedric Wilson really emerged in his absence, but I think that he can come in. Alec Pierce, Gallup is like a 6'3" dude who has some decent route running and is deceptively gets a deceptive separation down the field and can stack corners, especially with some good releases. Everything I just said about Gallup, you can copy paste for Alec Pierce because he's doing it at Cincinnati right now for Desmond Ridder. Good route runner, 6'3", 6'4", deceptively able to gain separation downfield with his speed, even though he's not that, he has long strides, he's not that fast, but he has some long-ass strides, and I think that he's just a really good, if not a Michael Gallup clone, a really good guy to come in and fill that exact role that Michael Gallup is leaving when he leaves this offseason. 61, Buffalo takes Kenneth Walker III, running back out of Michigan State. If you're not going to invest in good run-blocking offensive linemen, you need to find a special talent running back that can make up for that. You need a Jonathan Taylor, a Saquon Barkley kind of guy, but those dudes were known quantities, and why I think Kenneth Walker will fall despite his Heisman-level season. We saw Derrick Henry fall when he had a Heisman season. Kenneth Walker he's only had one good season. He transferred from Wake Forest, and this is his only real elite season as a prospect. So to worry that he's a one-year wonder kind of thing, and that maybe it's just the situation he came into, is going to, and the fact that he's not really a good receiving back is going to get people to not really take interest in him. So I don't know if he's going to last as long in real life, but Kenneth Walker to the Bills. You got guys like Zach Moss and Devin Singletary who are either A, injury-prone in the case of Moss, or B, Singletary just isn't really that athletically gifted. He can make people miss, but he's not like an explosive running back. Kenneth Walker has that explosiveness. He brings an explosiveness that neither guy really has. He brings the power and contact balance Zach Moss has without the injury history. He can make guys miss, but not as well as Singletary. So maybe you keep one of those guys, if not both, and then those are your pass down backs. But Kenneth Walker can be that bell cow dude, and you need to find an elite talent to be that guy for you. You can't just keep rolling out mediocre to average running backs behind the offensive line and expect to have a running game. If you give Walker 15 carries just himself, he'll get you. He has potential to get you 100 yards, whereas those two guys combined on 15 carries can get you like 60 maybe. 62, Arizona, Thayer Munford. Never can have too many good offensive linemen. Keeping Kyler Murray clean and safe, especially, I think they have Gabe Jackson. Or maybe that's the Seahawks, and they took Rodney Hudson. I think they have Rodney Hudson. Even though he's center, like I'm saying, there's some older dudes on that offensive line, and having enough, more good offensive linemen, having them come in and compete, try to get the best starting five out there just to protect your MVP and not my MVP, but the Cardinals MVP. And Kyler Murray, who's dealing with injuries this year, just keep him protected, keep him clean, and that should be utmost importance right now. Especially after having fixed the defense, DBs are playing decent. You have some weapons. You got Jaleel Billingsley in the first round, so you can focus on protecting Kyler now. Atlanta at 63, courtesy of Tennessee, gets Nick Bonito, edge on Oklahoma, or Nick Bonito, maybe, like the hockey player. Edge on Oklahoma. He's really lightweight, like 230. Like, he's super light for a traditional edge player. But, like, as a guy who can come in and who has the most explosive first step I've ever seen out of any player ever, he can come in and be a difference maker, get pressure on quarterbacks. There have been Ojulari and Hughes have shown that players lighter, like 240, can make an impact in this game, and Bonito, even if he adds like 5-10 pounds of muscle, I think he'll be just as explosive. I can't wait to see what his broad jump numbers are going to be like, or his 10-yard split's going to be like in the 40-yard dash at the combine. But you get Bonito to come in, and then he just like is going to be this firecracker dude that you just need talent on that defense, and you're so lucky that he's that light, because his talent level should not let him last to the bottom of the second round, Atlanta. You're lucky. And our final pick, I know I've kind of flown by this, but like I said, I've already talked about all these once before, and it's 2:51 in the morning. I got work in 3 hours. So, Green Bay Packers, Henry Tuo. I believe that's how you pronounce his name, linebacker at Alabama. You got guys like your rush linebackers, the Smith guys, and you got some decent D linemen. Maybe you need a better interior D lineman, but you got some decent down lineman like Rashawn Gary is going to be a factor as well too when he heals up. And you have a good secondary. I think having a super athletic pass coverage kind of weak side linebacker type dude like Henry T, we'll call him, is going to be a good mix and a good fit for what the Packers are missing on their defense as of right now. But yeah, that's the end of it. I'm super proud of both of these rounds. My favorite pick in round one was probably Darian Kinnard to Tennessee, just because that's so beautiful for him, Derrick Henry. And my favorite pick for round two, outside of obviously the whole quarterback to Cleveland thing that I wanted to make this because just to have an argument about. Probably my favorite is going to be Terrell Bynum to Indy, just as a replacement for T.Y. Hilton. That just fits so perfectly, and they need help at wide receiver, and his talent level and his specific skill set is just exactly what they need for that offense. So that's probably my favorite pick in this second round. Tell me how bad I did at this. I'm probably gonna post this to Reddit and then make a reaction, like reactions to their comments kind of video. We'll see how that works though. I was planning on doing that last year, but I might be able to do it this year now. So I like this one a lot. I'm very proud of it. See